You should be open to investing in and testing voice recognition software for your computer. This can become expensive and you have to get a good headset. In terms of headsets, I've generally preferred USB ones which are branded, although all types wear out eventually. I've spent between £10 and £15 on each one on eBay. One subtle advantage of using a headset is that you can sit comfortably in whatever position you like, rather than having to sit up straight at the computer, so it can add a bit of freedom if you find standard typing positions uncomfortable. An unfortunate downside of relying on voice recognition software is that it is harder to use when you have a cold or sore throat. On a good day you could talk all day, but on an ill day you might get very little done, and the software has difficulty recognizing you when you are hoarse. Now, I haven't tested every voice recognition software on every operating system. What I do know is that Windows Speech Recognition is free and works on everything from Vista onwards. I've also found it to be the most efficient software when you use Microsoft software, particularly Microsoft Office. And it uses less RAM than Dragon. However, it is very reluctant to cooperate with non-Microsoft software, and this is where add-ons like VoiceFinger can help. Overall, if your computer isn't very powerful, it's definitely worth learning how to use this, including with Internet Explorer. It's worth training Windows Speech Recognition even if you're not going to use it regularly, because its recognition dictionary is used by VoiceBot and VoiceAttack based on the profile you've trained, and it is necessary if you want to use VoiceFinger. Different versions of Dragon work on different versions of Windows, in accordance with this table. I've heard that it is less effective in Windows 10, or at least has some issues, but as I've not tried Windows 10 I can't be specific on which ways. Dragon tends to be very happy to work in both Microsoft and non-Microsoft software. It does use a fair amount of RAM, and later versions tend to use more RAM than earlier ones. So if your machine isn't terribly fast, it's worth getting the earliest version of Dragon which will install and effectively work on it. Also, if you're on Windows 7, Dragon 11 is better than Dragon 12. Generally, if you are able to save up for your computer, it's worth getting a fairly powerful one, because sitting there watching the voice recognition software spend between 10 and 60 seconds deciding what you said is infuriating, especially if it happens several times an hour. Switching from a single-core machine to a quad-core machine can be the difference between hating and happily tolerating voice recognition.